It's 11 p.m. You're exhausted, sitting on the couch in the dark, and you catch yourself mindlessly swiping through a feed. Before you realize what's happening, you've bought a new gadget or a pair of shoes you don't need, just for a fleeting spark of excitement. If we look at this chart tracking residential footprints since 1950, we see the physical reality of all those purchases. The average American home has tripled in size. Yet, as the line for square footage climbs, the available open space inside those homes is shrinking because we are relentlessly packing them full of goods. We have so much overflowing stuff that we've spawned an entire $40 billion self-storage industry just to warehouse the excess. And the psychological data shows a clear disconnect. All this endless accumulation isn't translating into higher reported happiness. It is easy to look at a late-night digital cart and write it off as a personal lapse in willpower or a simple failure of financial discipline. But that impulse buy is exactly what a century of highly funded corporate engineering designed you to do. It is the predictable, successful output of a system built to keep you scrolling. To understand how we lost control over our own wallets, we have to look at the architecture of consumerism. Over the last 100 years, industries systematically dismantled the 4 natural barriers that used to stop us from buying: the barrier of need, the barrier of money, the barrier of distance, and our psychological defenses. The first barrier to fall was need. In the 1920s, the assembly line solved the problem of scarcity. Factories were producing goods faster than ever. But industrialists realized that ordinary working people already had the practical things they required. If consumers stopped buying, the entire economic engine would stall. Enter Edward Bernays, the nephew of Sigmund Freud and a pioneer of the public relations industry. He recognized that people's purchasing decisions could be untethered from logic. He figured out how to link mass-produced goods directly to unconscious emotional desires. Marketers developed the concept of psychological obsolescence. They started broadcasting curated, aspirational lifestyles straight into American living rooms, deliberately manufacturing new social anxieties, like worrying your breath was offensive or your kitchen was suddenly out of date. Then they offered their products as the definitive cure. Buying things shifted from a survival task to a lifelong quest. Shopping became the primary way to soothe our insecurities and signal our identity to the world. The second barrier was money. Historically, if you wanted something, the sequence was straightforward. Desire the item, save the cash, and eventually buy it. That built-in delay acted as a natural cooling-off period. In the late 1950s, the general-purpose credit card collapsed that entire sequence. You acquire what you desire immediately, sorting out reality later. Swiping plastic defers what economists call the pain of payment. The transaction feels practically free, reliably driving people to spend more. Erasing the immediate sting of a purchase demolished the financial constraint, laying the structural groundwork for today's trillion-dollar consumer debt crisis. Next came the physical barrier of distance. The mid-century enclosed shopping mall was carefully engineered to maximize dwell time. Architects removed windows and clocks, creating a climate-controlled, disorienting space that encouraged lingering and frequent impulse buying.
E-commerce took that concept to its logical extreme. Retail giants built their online models around systematically removing every last ounce of physical distance and friction from the purchase decision. Today, digital product feeds use infinite scrolling and algorithmic recommendations. This operates on a variable reward schedule, exploiting the exact same neurological mechanisms as gambling. You scroll because the very next item might be exactly the deal you've been looking for. We now carry an infinitely scrolling, frictionless mall in our pockets 24/7. The physical barrier of distance has been entirely erased. The final barrier was our own rational defense system. With traditional television or magazine ads, you knew you were watching a commercial pitch, which allowed your psychological guard to go up. Social media feeds generate constant upward social comparison, saturating our screens with idealized lives. Within this environment, an influencer's paid product pitch adopts the authenticity and trust of a recommendation from a friend. With our rational defenses bypassed by parasocial trust and the constant fear of missing out, the frictionless funnel is fully operational. We are left totally exposed to the addiction machine. The biological reality driving the cycle is a cruel irony. The human brain's reward circuit actually releases its highest levels of dopamine during the anticipation of a purchase, not during the actual possession of the item. This chart illustrates what neuroscientists call the wanting-liking gap. You see a massive spike in dopaminergic wanting right before the purchase, followed by a steep drop-off in actual liking once the item arrives. The physical product almost always provides significantly less emotional satisfaction than the psychological buildup promised. Because the purchase fails to deliver lasting completeness, your brain's wanting system demands another dopamine hit. You are driven right back into the cycle, hunting for the next item to recreate that initial rush. The corporate machine thrives precisely because its products fail to make us permanently happy. That persistent dissatisfaction is what locks us into a continuous, highly profitable loop. This artificially induced throwaway culture has devastating physical consequences. The fast fashion industry accelerates the cycle to a weekly pace, generating mountains of textile waste that clog landfills and overwhelm local ecosystems. The actual costs of production are entirely disconnected from the low price tag. The addiction machine renders individuals financially fragile and psychologically unfulfilled. At the macro level, it consumes planetary resources at an entirely unsustainable rate. This architecture of consumption is deeply integrated into our economy. The platforms and retailers will not self-regulate, because dismantling this psychological architecture destroys the profit motive. But you can use awareness to your advantage. By explicitly recognizing the invisible algorithms, the variable reward schedules, and the manufactured insecurities, you engage your rational brain. You begin to see the setup for exactly what it is. You might not be able to dismantle a trillion-dollar consumer economy overnight, but understanding how it operates creates a vital wedge of friction between their manufactured stimulus and your final click. And in that small, quiet space, you get to reclaim your agency.